I've got a number of these 5-gallon tanks floating around here. Use them for various things. Like, well, I got the weed burner out. That's actually a torch down torch for roofing. But you know, these tanks are nice because they're convenient. Propane is a much better fuel than gas for many reasons. One, it doesn't get water in it. Two, you can store it like this pretty much inevitably. And three, you know, it's in a lot of senses it's much cheaper. So right now, propane where I'm at is about $2.50 a gallon, whereas gas is $4 a gallon. You know, the wonderful thing about living on the West Coast. So one of the biggest problems I have with these tanks is, you know, they're heavy. It's hard to move these things around when you're, you know, when it comes time to refill these. Now, I do keep track of how many hours I run the generator per year, but it really varies. There's so many things to take in consideration, you know, temperature, time, load, you know, so it's not really a good idea. You know, it gives you a good idea, but it's not a great idea of how much propane is in the tanks. So in one of my other videos, and you can find easily online, I show how you can refill these little bottles using the adapter. This basically screws into the bottle. This one screws on here. You put these little bottles in the freezer, warm up the bigger ones. You know, you get them, I don't know, maybe a third of the way filled. I don't use this method anymore. So I use these little Flame King tanks. They're more refillable. They actually refill like a regular tank does. Or, you know, these tanks, regular tank. But you see, easy refill there. But that's just another versatile thing about these little tanks. So these little tanks are nice. You get yourself a nice little burner end on it. So this is about the same amount that you would get in one of the 1-pound tanks. So, you know, a little bit smaller, a little bit easier to use, quicker to refill. I use these out here in the shop and in the house. All right, we're 2 minutes into this. Where are we going with this? So here is an adapter that I use. This is a Mr. Heater. Amazon, cheap, about 40 bucks. I got a couple of these. So basically what this does is tie 2 different tanks together. So this little adapter screws in there. This would go off to your other tank, and then your device would plug in here. So one of the major problems with propane is in the wintertime, these tanks will freeze up real quick. So if you tie 2 of them together, it scavenges off of both tanks. Well, whichever one's closest first, but you get more better scavenging. So one modification you have to do here is these hoses come with these balls and springs and lock washers because the government doesn't want you to hurt yourself. So they put a device in here to prevent you from getting boo-boos because, you know, somehow if you hurt yourself, it's, you know, it hurts the government. All right, so back to the whole point of this video here. The problem is it's hard to tell how much is in these tanks. So one thing you could do is go get some hot water from your coffee pot or whatever, and you pour it down this tank. You kind of hear it boiling in there. So what this is doing is the metal is absorbing the heat, and the propane is going to absorb the heat as well. So what I can do now is this is warm, and right here it goes cold. So this is hot, this is cold. So I know that this tank is about half full. So the thing is like, okay, now do I unhook this, throw it in the back of the car, take it on the propane place, because propane guys aren't going to come out here to fill these tanks. They just don't. So how do I fill these? Okay, so this one's full to about here. That's almost too full because we need an air gap. This one's about right here, so right in the label. This one's about half. So what do I do here? So basically all we do is we take our hose. See, I got 2 more here tying these tanks together. Hook it up to this tank, flip it upside down so the liquid goes out the valve. The POL valve has a float in it. Float's going to go up. So the trick here is that this tank needs to be warmer than this tank. The temperature difference doesn't really need to be too much, but typically I'll take this into the shop, let it sit next to the stove for an hour or so, you know, just get it a little bit warm. And somebody's going to say, you're going to die. It's fine, whatever. So essentially what we do here is we open this valve. We got some action there. And then we come up here and crack this one open. See, now we have a difference in pressure. So this tank has a higher pressure than this one. So the liquid is coming out through the hose and then into this tank. So I know that since this one's about half full, I'm going to put probably 2 of these in here. You know, it'll probably bring it up to about there where they're all at. Now, after I get done filling one of these, what I'll do is I'll turn this valve off, and then I'll open up all 3 of these so that the tanks can equalize their pressure. So this is it. You know, easy. Well, easy maybe, but this is how I refill these tanks, because I think these things weigh 69 pounds empty, 240 pounds full. You know, I can't mess with these, you know, picking these things up and throwing them in the back of the car, and then they rattle all around, and you know, it's just sort of a pain. So this is how you do it. Well, this is how I do it. This is a way that you can do it. You know, another benefit to these is, you know, for whatever reason these tanks freeze up, which I haven't had happen yet, because I usually crack them all open so it scavenges at the same time. But you take these little barbecue cylinders inside, set them next to the fire, you know, when it's 11 degrees outside, warm the tank up, and then you can come out here and rotate them as need be. So, you know, this 5 gallons here will run this generator for about 8 hours or so. So if I keep it down here next to it on the ground where it's, you know, a little bit warmer because of the exhaust and everything, it works out pretty well. But yeah, so just a quick little, well, 6.5 minute quick little demonstration here. So easy stuff.